Captain Olivia Grant looked out at the stars from the bridge of the horizon. The small exploration ship was on a routine mission near the edge of the solar system. Olivia had done this trip 5 times before. Nothing unusual ever happened. Today was different. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Eric Martinez. He moved his fingers quickly over the glowing screen at his station. "It's not one of ours." Olivia walked to his station and looked at the readings. "Are you sure?" "Yes, Captain. Whatever it is, it's big and it's coming this way." The bridge grew quiet. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they might finally have their answer. "All stations alert status," Olivia said calmly. "Lisa, what can you tell us about the object?" Science Officer Lisa Franklin studied her screens. "It's not just one object, Captain, it's 3. They're ships, but like nothing I've ever seen. They appear to be made of some kind of crystal material." "Show me," Olivia ordered. The main screen lit up with an image that made everyone on the bridge gasp. 3 massive ships that seemed to be made of blue crystal were moving toward them. They shimmered like jewels against the blackness of space. "They're beautiful," whispered Kimberly Boyd, the medical officer. "And probably dangerous," added Security Chief Terrence Moore. His hand moved to the weapon at his side. "Let's not jump to conclusions," Olivia said. "Eric, any signals from them?" Before Eric could answer, the communication system came to life. Strange sounds filled the bridge. It wasn't a language anyone recognized. "I think they're trying to talk to us," Eric said. He worked quickly at his station. "I'm running it through our translation program." Minutes passed. The crystal ships came closer. They were now close enough that the horizon looked tiny next to them. "Translation coming through," Eric announced. "It's rough, but I think I can make it out." A voice, oddly flat and mechanical, spoke through the speakers. "Greetings, vessel, from Sol 3. We are the Acrelian Confederacy. We have been observing your world for some time. We wish to establish formal contact." Olivia took a deep breath. This was now a first contact situation. Everything she did would be recorded in history books. "This is Captain Olivia Grant of the Earth Exploration Vessel Horizon. We welcome you, and are honored to be the first to meet you." There was a pause before the voice replied. "We request permission to send a representative to your vessel. We wish to invite you to the Galactic Council." Olivia looked at her officers. This was moving quickly. "We would be honored to receive your representative and learn more about this council." 2 hours later, Olivia and her senior officers stood in the Horizon's docking bay. A small craft from the largest crystal ship had just landed. The door opened, and a figure stepped out. The alien was tall and thin. It had pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly. Its 4 arms moved gracefully as it walked. Its face had large, dark eyes that blinked sideways. "I am Ambassador Zektor," the alien said, its mouth not moving. The words seemed to form directly in their minds. "I represent the Acrelian Confederacy and the Galactic Council." "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Olivia said, trying to hide her amazement. "I am Captain Grant, and these are my officers." Zektor looked at each human carefully. "Fascinating. You truly are as the reports described. You come from a world we classify as a death world." "A death world?" Lisa asked. "What does that mean?" "A planet with conditions most sentient species would find impossible to survive," Zektor explained. "High gravity, extreme weather, varied ecosystems filled with predators, poisons, and dangers. Such worlds rarely produce spacefaring species." Terrence frowned. "Earth isn't that bad. To most species in the galaxy, your world would be a nightmare," Zektor said. "The fact that you evolved there makes you unique." Olivia wasn't sure if that was a compliment. "You mentioned a galactic council?" "Yes. The council wishes to meet representatives from Earth. You would be the first if you accept our invitation." Olivia knew this was beyond her authority, but also knew the importance of this moment. "We would be honored to accept, pending approval from our government." Over the next few days, Earth's governments were in chaos as they learned about the aliens. Eventually, they agreed that Captain Grant and her senior officers would represent humanity at this council. A week later, They boarded Zektor's ship. The inside was even more beautiful than the outside, with crystal walls that changed colors and seemed alive. "These are your quarters," Zektor said, showing them to a large room. "We have adjusted the environment to match Earth conditions as best we can." "Thank you," Olivia said. "How long will the journey take?" 3 of your Earth weeks," Zektor replied. "I suggest you rest. The journey can be disorienting for those not used to our method of travel." After Zektor left, the humans explored their new home. The gravity felt lighter than Earth's, and the air smelled strange but breathable. "They're treating us like we're made of glass," Terrence noted as he tested the bed, which was much softer than he was used to. "Maybe to them, we are dangerous," Lisa said. "Think about it. If Earth is a death world, then we evolved to survive conditions they find deadly." On the 3rd day of their journey, alarms blared throughout the ship. The humans rushed out of their quarters to find Akrelian crew members running down the corridor. "What's happening?" Olivia asked an Akrelian who paused near them. "Pressure door malfunction in Section 7, the alien explained quickly. "Several crew members are trapped. The override is failing." They followed the Akrelian to where a group had gathered around a thick door. Through a small window, they could see several aliens trapped inside a room where warning lights flashed. "The atmosphere is venting," an Akrelian technician said. "The manual override is jammed. We cannot open it in time." Without hesitation, Eric stepped forward. "Let me try." The Akrelians moved aside, though they looked doubtful. Eric grabbed the manual wheel that would open the door. He pulled with all his strength. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly the wheel began to turn. The Akrelians watched in silence as Eric, his face red with effort, forced the door open. The trapped crew members stumbled out, saved from what would have been certain death. Later in their quarters, the humans discussed what had happened. "Did you see their faces?" Kimberly asked. "They looked at you like you were superhuman, Eric." "I just turned a wheel," Eric said, embarrassed. "A wheel that their strongest crew members couldn't budge," Lisa pointed out. "I think we're starting to understand what Zektor meant about us being from a death world. What's normal strength for us might be extraordinary to them." Olivia nodded slowly. "And that might explain why they're so interested in us, and why they might also be afraid of us." As the ship continued its journey to the Galactic Council, stories about the strong humans from Earth began to spread among the Akrelian crew. The humans from the Death World had arrived in the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same again. The council station was huge. As their shuttle approached, Olivia and her crew pressed against the viewing windows in awe. The station was shaped like a giant wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. Thousands of lights sparkled across its surface. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it. "It's bigger than any city on Earth," whispered Lisa. "And older too," said Zektor, who stood behind them. "The council station has existed for over 2,000 years. It is home to representatives from more than 300 species." The shuttle docked at one of the spokes. When the doors opened, the humans felt a rush of strange-smelling air. It was breathable but had an odd sweetness to it. "This way," said Zektor. "The council is waiting." They walked through wide hallways filled with the strangest beings they had ever seen. Some had multiple limbs. Others floated instead of walked. Some were tiny, barely reaching the humans' knees. Others were so tall they had to duck under doorways. The aliens stopped and stared as the humans passed. Some even moved away quickly, as if afraid. "Why are they looking at us like that?" Terrence asked quietly. "Many have never seen beings from a death world before," Zektor explained. "Some only know humans from the stories that have spread since your rescue of our crew members." They entered a massive round chamber. Hundreds of seats rose in circles around a central platform. Most seats were filled with different alien species. Above the chamber was a clear dome showing the stars. "Wait here," Zektor said, pointing to the central platform. "The Grand Counselor will address you soon." The humans stood nervously as all eyes in the room turned to them. Some aliens were watching from behind clear barriers, as if the humans might be dangerous. A tall, thin alien with skin that changed colors like a chameleon rose from the highest seat. It wore a flowing robe with symbols that glowed. "I am Grand, Counselor Vexnar of the Palladian hegemony," it said in a deep voice that echoed through the chamber. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome the representatives from Earth, Sol System." Olivia stepped forward. "Thank you, Grand Counselor. We are honored to be here." Vexnar's skin turned a dark blue. "While we welcome you, I must express the Council's concerns. Earth has been classified as a Class 5 death world. History shows that species from such harsh environments often become the most aggressive expansionists." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Olivia looked confused. "I assure you we have no plans for expansion or aggression," she said. "We seek only peaceful contact and exchange of knowledge." "Perhaps," said Vexnar, "but the Council must consider the safety of all. We propose limited contact with Earth and restrictions on human ships traveling beyond your solar system." Terrence stepped forward. "That sounds like you want to quarantine us." "It is merely a precaution," said Vexnar, "until we better understand your species." "Then let us help you understand," Terrence said. "We've prepared a presentation about Earth and human culture." Vexnar nodded. "Proceed." The humans had prepared videos showing Earth's beauty, art, and culture. But when they showed scenes of everyday human activities, the reaction was unexpected. When the screen showed children playing baseball, gasps filled the chamber. "Why are they throwing projectiles at each other?" asked one counselor in alarm. "It's just a game," Eric explained. "The ball isn't dangerous." "The speed of your reactions is concerning," said another counselor. "And the force of that throw would kill many species here." Things got worse when the video showed a simple Olympic event, a human swimming race. "They can move through water at that speed without technology?" a small green alien asked in a frightened voice. "And they can hold their breath for that long?" added another. When the video showed mountain climbing, several aliens had to leave the chamber, too disturbed by watching humans cling to sheer cliff faces. Lisa whispered to Olivia, "This isn't going well. They're not seeing our culture. They're seeing us as some kind of super predators." As the presentation ended, Vexnar's skin had turned a deep purple. "The Council will need time to discuss what we have seen." While the Council met privately, the humans were shown to guest quarters. Lisa immediately began researching on the computer terminal they were given. "This is interesting," she said after an hour. "According to their classification system, Earth isn't the only death world in the galaxy, but it's by far the harshest world to produce a spacefaring civilization." "What does that mean?" asked Kimberly. "It means most species that evolved in conditions like Earth's never developed technology. They remained primitive or went extinct. We're an anomaly." "No wonder they're afraid of us," said Eric. Later that day, they were invited to a diplomatic reception. The large hall was filled with representatives from different worlds, all curious about the humans. As they mingled, a small blue alien approached Kimberly. It had large eyes and 6 thin arms. "I am Ambassador Laurel of the Jixari Collective," it said in a high musical voice. "I have many questions about human medicine." Kimberly smiled. "I'd be happy to answer them." As they talked, Laurel became more and more amazed. "Your bodies can repair broken bones naturally, without medical technology?" "Yes, though it takes time," Kimberly explained. "And your immune systems can adapt to fight new diseases?" "That's correct. We've evolved to resist many types of infections." Suddenly, Laurel made a strange choking sound and collapsed. The aliens nearby backed away in fear, some pointing at Kimberly as if she had done something. Without hesitation, Kimberly knelt beside the fallen ambassador. She checked for vital signs, though she wasn't sure what was normal for a Jexari. "Does anyone know what's wrong with them?" she asked the crowd. An alien similar to Laurel stepped forward. "It appears to be a respiratory failure. Our medical team is coming, but they are far away in the station." Kimberly made a quick decision. Using her medical training, she performed an emergency procedure to help Laurel breathe. Her hands moved quickly and surely. By the time the alien medical team arrived, Laurel was breathing again. The lead alien doctor stared at Kimberly. "You touched them? With no protective gear or sterilization?" the doctor asked, horrified. "There wasn't time," Kimberly said. "They needed immediate help." The doctor checked Laurel. "The ambassador will live thanks to your quick action. But what you did would be impossible for most species. The risk of contamination alone." As news of the incident spread, the humans realized they were being watched even more closely. That night in their quarters, Lisa made a disturbing discovery. "I found mention of a closed council session," she told the others quietly. "Some factions are discussing preemptive measures against Earth." "What does that mean?" asked Terrence. "I think," Olivia said slowly, "it means that some of them are so afraid of us they're considering action against Earth before we can become a threat." "But we're not a threat," Eric protested. "To them we are," Olivia replied. "Think about it. We're stronger, faster, and more durable than most species here. We can survive conditions that would kill them, and now they've seen that we can even touch their sick without protection." "They see us as monsters," Kimberly said sadly. "No," Olivia corrected. "They see us as predators. And they're trying to decide what to do about us before we realize how powerful we really are." 3 months passed since the first contact between humans and the Galactic Council. Earth had set up its first mining operation beyond Earth, on a moon of Neptune. The small base had only 12 workers who extracted rare minerals needed for new spaceship engines. Alan West checked the pressure gauges on his mining drill. The former Marine had found good work as a mining engineer. He liked the quiet of space, far from Earth's crowds. "Alan, can you come look at this?" called Diane Powell from across the mining floor. She was the team's environmental systems specialist. Alan walked over to where Diane was studying a screen of readings. "What's wrong?" "I'm picking up some strange energy readings. They're not from our equipment." Alan frowned. The Council had sent observers to Earth but had restricted human expansion. No alien ships should be this far into the solar system without permission. "Could it be a malfunction?" Alan asked. "I don't think so," Diane answered. "These readings look like—" A loud alarm cut her off. Red lights flashed throughout the base. "Pressure breach in Sector 4, shouted Carlos, the base's security officer. "Everyone to emergency stations." The miners ran to their assigned safety areas, but before they reached them, the lights went out. In the darkness, Alan heard strange sounds like metal feet walking on the floor. "Nobody move," Alan whispered. But it was too late. Bright lights suddenly blinded them. When Alan could see again, he found himself looking at something straight from a nightmare. Tall figures stood around them. They had 4 arms and bodies covered in hard shells like insects. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks with glowing eyes. "What are they?" whispered Diane. "Quiet, human," said one of the creatures in a harsh mechanical voice. "You are now property of the Krex. Resist and die." The Krex moved quickly. They put metal bands around the wrists of each human. The bands tightened painfully. "These will keep you controlled," said the leader Krex. "Now move." The humans were forced through their own base and onto a strange ship. Inside, the air smelled wrong and the gravity felt lighter. They were pushed into a large room with metal walls and a single door. "The master will be pleased," said one Krex to another. "New specimens are always valuable." "What are they going to do with us?" Carlos asked quietly when the Krex left. "Nothing good," Alan said. He was already testing the strength of the metal band on his wrists. "I think they're slavers." Hours passed. The humans talked in whispers, trying to figure out what was happening. Alan explained what he knew about the Council from news reports. "There are species outside the Council," he said. "Some are criminals who raid planets for slaves. I think these Krex are slavers." "What will they do to us?" asked Diane. "Sell us, probably," Alan said grimly. "But first, we need to escape." Alan studied the metal band on his wrist. It was tight, but not as strong as it looked. The Krex had made a mistake. They had designed these restraints for species weaker than humans. "Everyone, listen," Alan whispered. These bands were not made for humans. If we all pull at the same time with all our strength, they might break. The humans gathered in a circle. On Alan's signal, they all pulled against their restraints. The metal bands stretched slightly. Again, Alan said. Pull harder. On the fifth try, Alan's band snapped open. One by one, the others broke free too. The last was Diane, whose smaller wrists made it harder. Now what? Asked Carlos, rubbing his sore wrists. Now we take control of this ship, Alan said. Alan had military training. He quickly organized the miners into groups. They examined the door and found it had a simple lock. Using pieces of their broken restraints, they managed to jam it open. The corridor outside was empty. Alan led them quietly through the ship. They found a storage room with tools similar to those they used for mining. These will work as weapons, Alan said, handing out the tools. Diane found a panel on the wall with strange symbols. I think these are environmental controls, she said. Her job on the base had taught her about such systems. Can you use them? Alan asked. Diane studied the panel. I think so. Give me a few minutes. While Diane worked, Alan and the others explored more of the ship. They found no other prisoners but counted at least 15 Kreks through windows indoors. They outnumber us, and they have real weapons, Carlos said. But we have something they don't expect, Alan replied. They think we're weak and harmless. Diane called them back to the storage room. I've figured it out, she said excitedly. I can control the temperature in different parts of the ship. And I found something interesting. The Kreks can't handle cold temperatures. Alan smiled. Perfect. They made a plan. Diane would make the main control room cold while keeping their area normal. When the Kreks became slow from the cold, Alan's team would attack. The plan worked better than they hoped. When they burst into the control room, the Kreks were moving slowly, their insect-like bodies stiff from the cold. The humans quickly overpowered them. Within an hour, they had controlled the entire ship. They locked the Kreks in the same room where they had been held. Now we need to get home, Alan said, looking at the strange controls of the ship. I can try to figure these out, said Carlos, who had experience with computers. Before they could start, another alarm sounded. The main screen showed 3 ships approaching. More Kreks? Diane asked nervously. No, said Carlos, examining the symbols. I think these are council ships. When the council peacekeeping forces boarded the Krek ship, they were shocked to find humans in control. The lead officer, a tall alien with gray skin, stared at Alan. We received a distress signal from this vessel, the officer said. You're the captives? We were, Alan replied. Now we're in charge. The council forces checked the ship. All 15 Krek's crew members were locked up but unharmed. The humans had taken control without killing anyone. Impossible, the officer said. The Kreks have been raiding for 900 years. No prey has ever turned on them successfully. News of what happened spread quickly through council space. The incident became known as the slaver's mistake. Video from the ship's security system showed the humans breaking restraints that could hold species 3 times stronger than average, moving with shocking speed, and working together with clever planning. Across the galaxy, the story was told in hushed voices. Some species found it inspiring. Others found it terrifying. On the council station, Grand Counselor Vexnar watched the videos with growing concern. This confirms my fears, he said to his advisors. These Deathworlders are not just strong, they are resourceful and cooperative, under stress. They turn their survival adaptations into weapons when threatened. What should we do? Asked an advisor. We must contain them, Vexnar replied. Before they realize their true power in this galaxy, within days, multiple species withdrew their trade ships from Earth orbit. The message was clear. The humans were no longer viewed as curious newcomers. They were viewed as dangerous predators that needed to be contained. The slaver's mistake had shown the galaxy what humans could do, and many were afraid. Admiral Gregory Hayes looked at the large display showing the solar system. Around Earth's orbit, red dots marked the positions of alien ships. There were hundreds of them now. So it's official, he said. We're under blockade. Yes, sir, replied his aide. The Palladian hegemony announced it this morning. They're calling it a security quarantine for the good of the galaxy. Admiral Hayes was the leader of Earth's new defense force. After the Krex attack, Earth had quickly built more ships and trained crews, but they were still far behind the alien technology. What does the Council say? Hayes asked. They're divided. Some species support us, but most are either against us or staying neutral. Hayes studied the display again. The alien ships formed a complete circle around Earth's solar system. No human ship could leave without their permission. They fear what? They don't understand, Hayes said. We need to show them that humans aren't the monsters they think we are. In another room nearby, Commander Julia Winters was preparing for a mission. She had been chosen to lead a diplomatic team to the blockade line. Are you sure about this, Admiral? Julia asked when Hayes joined her. These ships have weapons that could destroy us in seconds. That's exactly why this plan will work, Hayes said. They expect us to either attack or hide. They don't expect us to simply talk. The plan was risky. Julia would take a small, unarmed ship directly to the blockade line. She would request a meeting with the blockade commander. Remember, Hayes told her, they think we're dangerous predators. Show them we're more than that. 2 days later, Julia's small ship approached the blockade. The ship was called the Olive Branch, a name chosen to send a message of peace. Alien. Vessel approaching, reported Julia's pilot. They're signaling us to stop. On the main screen, a large warship came into view. It was at least 20 times the size of the Olive Branch. Open all communication channels, Julia ordered. Let them hear us. A harsh voice came through the speakers. Human vessel turned back immediately. This is a restricted zone by order of the Palladian hegemony. This is Commander Julia Winters of Earth, Julia responded calmly. We come in peace. To discuss the blockade of our system. Turn back now, the voice repeated. This is your final warning. Julia took a deep breath. We will not turn back. We come to talk. If you fear us so much that you would imprison an entire species without cause, at least look us in the eye when you do it. There was a long silence. Then, without warning, the alien ship fired a weapon. The shot passed close to the Olive Branch, making the small ship shake. That was a warning shot, the voice said. The next will destroy you. Julia remained calm. If you destroy an unarmed diplomatic vessel, you prove that you, not humans, are the true danger to peace in this galaxy. Another long silence followed. Finally, a different voice spoke. Human vessel, this is Fleet Commander Dorax of the Palladian hegemony. State your purpose. I request a face-to-face meeting, Julia said. Just me, unarmed, aboard your vessel. Let us talk like civilized beings. The request clearly surprised the aliens. After a long discussion among themselves, they finally agreed. Julia docked her small ship with the massive alien warship. When the door opened, she found herself facing 6 armed guards. They were tall, with scaled skin that changed colors like Vexinars at the council meeting. Follow us, one guard said. Do not make any sudden moves. Julia was taken to a large room. At its center sat Fleet Commander Dorax. He was larger than the other Palladians, with scales that shimmered between dark blue and purple. You are either very brave or very foolish, Dorax said as Julia entered. No one has ever voluntarily boarded a Palladian warship. Sometimes courage and foolishness look the same, Julia replied with a small smile. Thank you for meeting with me. State your purpose quickly, Dorax said. Why has Earth sent you? To understand why you fear us so much that you would imprison our entire species in our own solar system. Dorax's scales darkened. The events on the Krex vessel proved what we already suspected. Humans are dangerous. You evolved on a world that would kill most species. You are stronger, faster, and more aggressive than most council races. We are also curious, compassionate, and peaceful, Julia countered. The miners on the Krex ship defended themselves without killing anyone. Doesn't that tell you something about our nature? Before Dorax could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A Palladian officer rushed into the room. "Commander, we've detected explosives on the lower deck. Security believes it's a sabotage. Team from the extremist faction." Dorak stood quickly. "Evacuate this section. Move the human to the holding cell." "Let me help," Julia offered. "You will remain under guard," Dorak said firmly. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered and died, replaced by dim emergency lighting. Smoke filled the room. Through the chaos, Julia saw 3 figures enter the room. They weren't Palladians. They were a different species with rough, rocky skin. They carried weapons. "Death to the alien sympathizer," one shouted, aiming at Dorax, who had fallen to the floor. Without hesitation, Julia threw herself between Dorax and the attacker. The weapon fired. Julia felt burning pain in her shoulder, but stayed standing. The ship's security forces arrived, moments later, and captured the attackers. Medical teams rushed to treat the wounded. "You're injured," a Palladian medic said to Julia, looking at her bleeding shoulder. "Attend to your commander first," Julia said, pressing her hand to the wound. The medic checked Dorax, then turned back to Julia with an expression of confusion. "Your wound. You should be unconscious from pain. That weapon was designed to incapacitate a being twice your size." Julia managed a weak smile. "Humans are tougher than we look." In the medical bay, alien doctors were amazed as they treated Julia's wound. Her body was already working to stop the bleeding. "Remarkable," one doctor said. "Your cells are regenerating at an extraordinary rate." Dorax visited Julia as she recovered. His scales were now a calm blue color. "You saved my life," he said. "Why?" "Because that's who we are," Julia replied. "Yes, humans evolved on a harsh world, but that harshness taught us to protect each other. Our strength isn't for conquest. It's for survival and protection." Word of what happened spread quickly through the blockade fleet. The story changed with each telling: how the human diplomat had taken a shot meant for Commander Dorax, how she had remained conscious despite a wound that would kill most species, how her body was healing itself without advanced medical technology. Within days, the tone of the blockade changed. While the ships remained in position, communication channels opened between Earth and Council worlds. Dorax himself sent a message to the Council. "The humans are indeed dangerous, but not in the way we feared. They use their strength not to dominate, but to protect. Perhaps we have misjudged them." On Earth, Admiral Hayes received the report from Julia with a smile. "You've given us a chance," he told her. "The blockade isn't over, but at least now they're willing to talk." "They just needed to see us as people, not monsters," Julia said. "We still have a long way to go, but it's a start." 1 year had passed since humans first met aliens. Earth now had regular contact with several species. The blockade had been replaced with monitored trade routes. It wasn't perfect freedom, but it was progress. Dr. Kimberly Boyd stood before the Galactic Council. The same chamber that once looked at humans with fear now listened with interest. Kimberly had been chosen as Earth's ambassador after her medical skills had impressed many alien species. "Thank you for allowing me to speak today," Kimberly began. "I wish to propose what we call the Deathworlder Initiative." The chamber grew quiet. The word Deathworlder still made many aliens nervous. "For too long you have seen our physical abilities as a threat," Kimberly continued. "But strength can protect as well as harm. We propose a specialized emergency response force made up primarily of humans, working alongside volunteers from other species." Grand Counselor Vexnar, whose scales were now a neutral green, spoke up. "What would be the purpose of this force?" "Disaster response," Kimberly explained. "Earthquakes, floods, structural collapses, radiation leaks, situations where our natural abilities could save lives." The council chambers filled with whispers. Many counselors looked skeptical. "This seems like a way for humans to spread through council space," one counselor objected. "It is a way for us to help," Kimberly corrected, "to show you that what makes us different can benefit everyone." The debate went on for hours. Some species supported the idea, while others opposed it strongly. In the end, Vexnar called for more time to consider the proposal. As the session ended, Kimberly received an urgent message. There had been a massive earthquake on an Akrelian colony world called Nereus IV. Thousands were trapped or missing. Kimberly rushed to find Captain Olivia Grant, who now commanded the Horizon on diplomatic missions. "We need to help them," Kimberly said, showing Olivia the message. "The Council hasn't approved your initiative yet," Olivia reminded her. "We can't wait for approval. People are dying." Olivia thought for a moment, then nodded. "I'll get the Horizon ready. Contact Earth and request a disaster team." Within hours, the Horizon was racing towards Nereus IV with 20 human specialists on board. They were the best Earth had: search and rescue experts, medical personnel, engineers, and emergency responders. When they arrived, the scene was worse than they expected. The main Akrelian city was in ruins. Buildings had collapsed and fires burned everywhere. The air was filled with toxic smoke from damaged industrial areas. The local Akrelian authorities were surprised to see a human ship. "We did not request Earth assistance," said the Akrelian governor. "No, but we came anyway," Olivia replied. "We have people who can help." "Our own rescue teams can't get into many buildings," the governor said. "The structures are too unstable, and the air is toxic." "That won't stop us," said Olivia. The human team went to work immediately. They split into groups and headed to the worst-hit areas. The Akrelians watched in amazement as the humans entered buildings that their own rescue teams had deemed too dangerous. Ben Foster, a former firefighter, led one team into a collapsed school. The building groaned around them, threatening to fall further at any moment. "Life signs ahead," Ben called, checking a sensor device. "3 of them." The team carefully moved forward. They found 3 young Akrelians trapped under fallen debris. The children were barely conscious. "We need to move this beam," Ben said, pointing to a heavy support that had fallen. The team worked together, using their human strength to lift the beam that Akrelian rescuers couldn't budge. They got the children out safely and carried them to the medical area. Similar scenes played out across the city. Humans entered toxic areas without environmental suits, their bodies able to handle conditions that would kill Akrelians in minutes. They lifted debris that would require heavy machinery for other rescuers. They worked tirelessly hour after hour. By the second day, news of the human rescuers had spread throughout the colony. Akrelians gathered to watch them work. Children pointed in wonder at the strange aliens who had come to help them. On the third day, the situation worsened. A power plant on the edge of the city was damaged in an aftershock. Radiation began leaking out. "We must evacuate this sector," the Akrelian emergency director announced. "The radiation levels are already lethal." The human team looked at each other. "How many people are still missing in that area?" asked Jason Kelly, the team's radiation specialist. "Perhaps 50, replied the director. "But they are lost. No one can survive in that radiation." "We can," Jason said. "Humans can tolerate much higher radiation levels than Akrelians. We'll get them out." Despite the Akrelians' protests, the human team entered the radiation zone. Their bodies could handle short exposures to radiation that would kill other species instantly. They found survivors and brought them to safety, returning again and again to the dangerous area. For 56 hours, the humans worked without stopping. They pushed their bodies to the limit and beyond. Finally, when the last survivor had been found, the team collapsed from exhaustion. The Akrelian medical team was shocked when they examined the sleeping humans. Their bodies showed incredible damage from radiation, toxic exposure, and physical strain. But they were already healing. Their cells were repairing the damage at rates the Akrelians had never seen before. Word of what happened on Nereus IV reached the council quickly. An emergency session was called. Footage showed humans entering buildings that collapsed around them, yet they emerged with survivors. It showed them working in toxic air and radiation that would kill most species. It showed them lifting impossible weights to free trapped Akrelians, and most importantly, it showed them risking their lives for aliens who had once feared them. When Kimberly Boyd returned to the council, the chamber was different. The barriers that had once separated humans from the others were gone. "The council has voted," announced Vexnar. "The Deathworlder initiative is approved." The initiative grew quickly. Human teams were stationed throughout council space, ready to respond to any disaster. They became known as the Angels of the Deathworld, beings whose terrifying strength saved lives instead of taking them. Years passed. New human generations grew up knowing they were part of a larger galactic community. Some humans even joined council ships as crew members, valued for their unique abilities. A new saying spread throughout the galaxy. If you're in danger, pray for a Deathworlder to find you before whatever you fear does. On a small colony far from Earth, a young alien child looked up at the night sky. "Why doesn't anyone attack our world anymore?" the child asked its parent. The parent pointed to a ship passing overhead. Its hull bore both council symbols and the Earth emblem of the Deathworlder Initiative. "Because the Deathworlders would come," the parent explained simply, "and there is nothing in the darkness that frightens them as much as they frighten everything else." The child watched the ship with wonder, not fear. "I want to meet a Deathworlder someday." "Perhaps you will," the parent said. "They are not what we once thought they were. They are not monsters or predators, they are protectors, and that makes them the most powerful force in the galaxy."